You think your relationship has faded for good. The harsh truth is, you're not tired of each other. You're just bored. Your brain, designed for survival and novelty, is trapped in predictability. Every day is the same. Morning coffee, work, dinner, Netflix, sleep. The stability you dreamed of at the beginning has become the silent killer of your passion. Your love doesn't need therapy. It needs an electric shock, a short circuit that will force the neurons in your brain to ignite with a bright flame again. Good old Freud spoke of the libido not just as sexual desire, but as an all-encompassing life energy. When this energy is suppressed by routine, it doesn't just disappear. It turns into apathy, irritation, and that same deadly boredom about today. We're not going to give you cliché advice like plan a romantic dinner. Instead, we'll give you 10 forbidden, dangerous, but damn effective tools. 10 ways to create that short circuit to reignite the fire between you. These aren't just tips. They are step-by-step scenarios for adults who are ready for bold experiments to bring back what seemed lost forever. But I have to warn you, this knowledge is dangerous. It could change your relationship forever, and there's no going back. If you're ready for that kind of transformation, for a true reset, hit the like button on this video right now, so I know we're on the same page. And if you're new here and not afraid of the deep end, be sure to subscribe, because we talk about things others are afraid to even think about. And before we start, a very important question to see the big picture. Write just one number in the comments. How many years have you been together? It's completely anonymous, but incredibly revealing for all of us. Let's see at what stage of a relationship this problem becomes most acute. Part 1. Visual sabotage. First and most powerful blow against routine will target the most predictable aspect of your life: visual patterns. Your brain is used to seeing your partner in the same settings, in loungewear, tired after work, brushing her teeth. We must break this pattern. Force your brain and hers to see each other as if for the first time, with hungry, new, undiscovered eyes. For this, we have 2 tools. Method number 1. Adult films as a desire lab. Let's get rid of the vulgarity right away. This isn't about mindlessly turning on a movie and watching it in the dark. That's a dead end. Our goal is to turn this tool into a high-precision laboratory for studying each other's desires. It's one of the safest ways to talk about your most intimate feelings without saying a word directly. Why it works. It's a cliché that men are visual, but there's deep neurobiology behind it. A new visual stimulus triggers a release of dopamine, the hormone of anticipation and desire. When you watch a film together, you get this novelty completely legally, without being unfaithful. You're essentially peeking at someone else's passion to catalyze your own. For her, it works on an even subtler level. She sees your reaction and understands what turns her man on, all while feeling completely safe about how to do it right. The key is in the approach. You can't just burst into the room and say, "Hey, let's watch porn." That will kill all the magic and trigger defensive reaction. The approach must be gentle and intriguing. Choose an evening when you're both relaxed. Start the conversation with something like, "I was thinking about a curious experiment for us. I want to better understand what you're really into and what gets me going. Let's look at this not as entertainment, but as a joint research project. No obligations, no judgment. We just talk about what we find interesting." The biggest mistake you can make here is to start comparing or criticizing. Phrases like, "See? Why don't you do that?" are a bullet to the head of your relationship. Your job is to be a researcher, not an examiner. Discuss the actors, the scenario, the atmosphere. Ask open-ended questions. What do you think of this scene? Does this seem sensual to you or just mechanical? This relieves the pressure and turns the process into an intellectual game it smoothly transitions into physical intimacy. The expected effect. You don't just get turned on. You open a dialogue on a topic that is strictly taboo for most couples. You get a unique opportunity to learn about each other's secret fantasies without asking awkward questions directly. This brings you incredibly close and helps you create your own unique language of passion. Method number 2, the sinful photoshoot as the art of desire. This method is even deeper and more powerful than the last because it moves you from the role of observers to creators. Let's be clear, this isn't about sending basic nudes over text. This is about creating a work of art where she is the main subject and you are the only audience. Why it works. For a woman, one of the most fundamental needs is to feel desired. Not just loved, but to be the object of a physical, primal attraction. When you invite her to be the model for an exclusive photoshoot, you send her a powerful signal. Your body is so beautiful that I want to capture it. This hits the very center of her self-esteem. For you, it creates a powerful psychological anchor. You get an artifact, an image of your partner at her most open and attractive. This image will fuel your imagination for a long time to come. How to do it right. Again, the delivery is everything. It has to be an offer she can't refuse. No pressure. Approach her like an art director approaching his muse. Say to her, I often look at you and think your beauty belongs in a gallery. I'd love to do a photo shoot for you. Nothing vulgar, but artistic. Black and white, with plays of light and shadow. It'll be our little secret, our art, meant only for my eyes. Discuss the concepts. Find examples online that you both like. It could be something very modest and suggestive, or something bolder. The main thing is that she feels comfortable and is a co-creator in the process. You don't even need a professional camera. A modern smartphone camera and the right lighting can work wonders. The biggest mistake here is rushing or being disrespectful. Don't hurry her. Don't be a demanding photographer. Your goal isn't the perfect shot, but the process of opening up and building trust. And of course, these photos are an absolute secret. They should never, under any circumstances, leave your most secure private archive. The very act of you protecting this secret will be proof of your love and reliability to her. The expected effect. She won't just feel beautiful. She will see herself through your eyes, the eyes of a man who desires her. This feeling will stay with her for weeks and months. And you will have more than just a set of files. You'll have a key to your own imagination. A single glance at these photos in the middle of a workday can trigger a chain reaction of anticipation that will make your evening unforgettable. You are creating your own private cult of her beauty, closed off from the rest of the world. And that is an incredibly powerful foundation for rekindling passion. Part 2. Social piazzo. Now that we've broken the visual patterns, we're moving to the next level. We're taking our game outside the home, into the social sphere. The goal is to create a secret world between you, invisible to others, full of hints and electric tension. This turns a normal outing into a thrilling adventure where only the two of you know the real rules. Method number 3. Public foreplay. The art of secret signals. The essence of this method is to create sexual tension in public using barely noticeable, almost accidental touches and glances. This isn't about being vulgar or ostentatious, but about a subtle game that ignites the imagination and creates a powerful anticipation for what will happen when you're finally alone. Why it works. Our brains love secrets. When you create a secret just for two, it releases oxytocin, the hormone of trust and bonding. At the same time, the slight risk of being noticed triggers an adrenaline rush. This potent mix of oxytocin and adrenaline creates an effect similar to falling in love in the very early stages of a relationship. You become accomplices again, partners in a small, spicy crime against boredom. how to do it right. Start small. While sitting in a restaurant, run your fingers over her knee under the table. In a dark movie theater, whisper something explicit in her ear about what you want to do to her when you get home. At a friend's party, as you walk past her, touch her lower back almost imperceptibly. The key word is subtlety. This must be your secret. She should be able to catch your eye from across the room and read a promise in it that only she understands. The biggest mistake is to overdo it and turn the game into an awkward situation. If she tenses up or lets you know she's uncomfortable, stop immediately. This is a territory of trust. The goal is not to shock her or others, but to ignite a spark between you. Watch her reaction. A slight smile, a returned glance, slightly flushed cheeks. These are signs that the game is on and you're on the right track. The expected effect. A regular dinner with friends transforms from a routine event into a playground for your secret game. Throughout the evening, you'll exchange signals and the tension will build. By the time you get into a taxi to go home, the air between you will be fully electrified. This turns the journey home not into the end of the evening, but into its long-awaited climax. Method number 4, the incognito date. Seduce your own girlfriend from scratch. This is one of the most powerful psychological tricks for breaking the routine. You agree to accidentally meet at a bar or cafe you've never been to before, and you act as if you're complete strangers. Your task is to meet and seduce each other all over again. Why it works. Over years of living together, you get used to certain social roles. Husband, wife, father, mother. These roles, like heavy armor, hide the two people who once fell in love. The incognito date allows you to shed this armor for one evening. You stop being partners with a shared home and bills. You become a man and a woman seeing each other for the first time again. This resets all expectations and obligations, leaving a clean slate for flirting and play. How to do it right. Preparation is key. Choose a place. Agree on a time. Arrive separately. Dress as you would for a first date with the woman of your dreams. Not in your usual jeans, but in something that makes you feel confident. She will do the same. When you meet, play your roles to the end. Approach her. Ask if the seat is taken. Compliment her. Buy her a drink. Talk about topics you don't normally discuss. Dreams, travel, strange fantasies. Do not talk about kids, work, or home repairs. Your goal is to see not your partner, but an intriguing stranger, and to let her see an interesting stranger in you. The biggest mistake is to break character and start acting like your usual selves. If you start discussing who's picking up the kids from school tomorrow after 5 minutes, all the magic will be ruined. Agree beforehand that you won't break the rules of the game until you leave the venue. The more seriously you take this game, the more powerful the effect will be. The expected effect. You get to experience the thrill of a first date with the person closest to you. You might hear things from her that you've never heard before, because in the role of a stranger, she can afford to be bolder. This evening reminds you both that behind the familiar masks lie interesting, multifaceted individuals full of desires and secrets. You return home not as spouses, but as lovers who have just met and are burning with impatience to get to know each other better. Part 3. The role REVSL. This is the deepest and perhaps the most challenging section to execute. We are moving from external changes to internal ones. We will be breaking not just habits, but the fundamental role models that have formed in your relationship over the years. This is a territory of maximum trust. If you can navigate this stage, your connection will reach a completely new level of intimacy. Method number 5. The submission day. A therapy of power exchange. Let's be clear from the start. This is not about BDSM in its vulgar sense. This is a subtle psychological game aimed at temporarily flipping the usual power dynamic in your relationship. For one evening, you voluntarily switch roles. The one who usually dominates becomes submissive, and vice versa. Why it works. In any relationship, even the most harmonious ones, an unspoken balance of power is eventually established. Someone makes decisions more often. Someone gives in more often. This is normal, but it's predictable. When you deliberately break this model, several important things happen. First, you relieve yourself of the burden of responsibility for your usual role. A man who always has to be strong and in control gets legal permission to be weak and led for one evening. This is an incredible relief. A woman accustomed to being soft and yielding gets to explore her dominant side. Second, it is an act of ultimate trust. To voluntarily give power over yourself to another person is to say, I trust you so much that I am not afraid to be vulnerable in front of you. It is here that we can recall the great Carl Jung and his concept of the shadow. Each of us has a shadow, a hidden, suppressed part of our personality. In a strong man's shadow lives his vulnerability. In a soft woman's, her inner strength and aggression. This game is a safe way to get to know your own and her shadow, to accept these parts of yourselves in each other, not how to do it right. This experiment requires a thorough discussion beforehand. You sit down and honestly talk through the rules. You decide who takes which role for the evening. You set clear boundaries and, most importantly, a safe word. This can be any word not used in everyday speech. If one of you says it, the game stops immediately, no questions asked. This is the safety net that allows both of you to feel secure. The roles can be anything: mistress and servant, queen and page. The main thing isn't the role itself, but the shift in dynamics. Plan the scenario in advance. What exactly will this submissive one do? Fulfill any household commands? Give a massage? Serve drinks? The more detailed you are with the rules, the easier it will be to immerse yourselves in the game. The biggest mistake is to take it too seriously, or conversely, turn it into a farce. You must not use the game to get revenge for old grievances, or to humiliate your partner. The goal is exploration and pleasure, not score settling. The other extreme is to constantly giggle and break character. Treat it like a theatrical performance where you are both talented actors playing for the most important audience each other, the expected effect. This is an experience that can radically change your perception of each other. You will see your partner in a completely new, unexpected role. It shatters the illusion that you know absolutely everything about each other. You will realize that next to you is an entire universe full of hidden depths. This not only brings back passion, but also creates an incredible level of psychological intimacy based on the acceptance of the most hidden sides of your personalities. Method number 6. Confession of strangers. A bearing of the soul. If the previous method was a game of power, this one is a game of absolute honesty. You sit across from each other, perhaps by candlelight, and take turns sharing one secret fantasy. Something you never dared to say. Not just sexual, any fantasy. Why it works. This is the ultimate form of vulnerability. To share your most secret fantasy is to completely open your soul, risking being misunderstood or judged. When your partner listens to you and accepts your revelation without judgment, a miracle happens. You feel total, unconditional acceptance. This creates a level of trust that is unattainable in ordinary, day-to-day communication. It's as if you're saying to each other, I see the most hidden part of you, and I love you just as you are. This is a powerful aphrodisiac. How to do it right. The main and only rule of this game is no judgment. No criticism, no ridicule, no questions like, you're really into that? The only possible response to your partner's confession is, thank you for sharing that with me. You can agree on the format. For example, Each of you writes down your fantasy on a piece of paper, and then you take turns reading them aloud. This can alleviate the initial awkwardness. Start with something simpler. Don't lay your boldest cards on the table right away. Feel the atmosphere. Your goal is to create a space of absolute psychological safety. The biggest mistake is to break the no judgment rule. Even a sideways glance or a skeptical smirk can permanently shut down this channel of trust. The second mistake is to immediately demand that the fantasy you heard be acted out. The purpose of this ritual is the act of revelation itself, not to create an action plan. Simply knowing each other's fantasies will already enrich your intimate life and add new colors to it. Even if you never decide to act on them, the expected effect: you stop being just partners. You become the keepers of each other's most intimate secrets. This creates a unique, unbreakable bond. You will realize that the person you live with is much deeper and more interesting than you thought. And that realization is one of the most powerful drivers of long-term attraction and respect. This is the depth we dive into in every video. We are not afraid of complex topics and do not offer superficial solutions. If you've been looking for a channel that speaks to adults in an adult language, the best way to support us and become part of our community is to subscribe right now. Part 4. The spatial anomaly. Our brain is an association machine. The bedroom is associated with sleep, the kitchen with food, the living room with watching TV. These neural pathways are so strong that when we enter a certain space, we automatically switch to the corresponding mode. To bring back passion, we must break these associations. Create a spatial anomaly that will jolt the brain out of its usual rut. Method number 7. Forbidden territory in your own home. The essence of this method is brilliantly simple. Make love in the most unexpected and unintended place in your apartment or house. Not in the bedroom, not on the couch, but somewhere your brain least expects it. Why it works. When you do something familiar in an unfamiliar place, the brain is forced to work at full capacity. It can't go on autopilot. It starts to eagerly absorb new sensations. A different surface texture, different light, different sounds, a different smell. All of this creates new, vivid neural connections. The element of breaking the rules, even rules as arbitrary as you don't sleep on the kitchen table, adds a slight taste of adrenaline, which, as we already know, is a powerful catalyst for attraction. You are, in a way, conquering new territory for your passion from the clutches of domesticity. How to do it right? The key is spontaneity. This should not be a planned event. It should be an impulse. You're cooking dinner together, and at some point, you catch her eye. You walk over, hug her, and instead of leading her to the bedroom, you stay right there, in the kitchen. Or in the morning, while she's taking a shower, you join her in the bathroom. The unexpected is your main weapon. Of course, you should consider common sense, safety, and comfort, but a little discomfort can even add to the excitement. The biggest mistake is to try to plan it down to the last detail. If you start saying, "Okay, on Thursday at 9 p.m., we will make love on the washing machine," all the magic of spontaneity will disappear. It should feel like a sudden thunderstorm, not a scheduled trip to the theater. It's also important to make sure you won't be disturbed, especially if there are children in the house. Choose a time when you are guaranteed to be alone, the expected effect. After an experiment like this, your home will never be the same. The kitchen will no longer be just a place for cooking, and the bathroom will no longer be just a place for hygiene. Each of these places will now be charged with a new erotic memory. You are essentially placing passion anchors all over your apartment. Walking past that spot the next day, your brain will involuntarily replay that memory, triggering a wave of pleasant sensations and keeping the fire of attraction burning. Method number 8. the honeymoon suite. A complete reset. This method is the heavy artillery in the war against domesticity. You escape from your own home for one night by booking a room in a nice hotel in your own city. This is a total change of scenery that allows you to completely reset your roles and relationship. Why it works. Our home is not only our fortress, but also our cage, full of routine triggers. A dripping faucet, scattered clothes, bills on the table. All these things constantly remind us of our household duties. The brain is in household manager mode. A hotel is neutral territory. There are no obligations here. You don't have to cook, clean, or think about problems. It's a space created exclusively for rest and pleasure. The brain instantly switches from survival and domesticity mode to exploration and enjoyment mode. You physically remove yourselves from your usual context, and this allows you to see each other without the filter of domestic problems. How to do it right. Don't skimp. Choose a hotel that is a level above your everyday standards. One with a good view, a large and comfortable bed, perhaps a jacuzzi in the room. It should feel like a small, luxurious adventure. Arrange for someone to watch the kids, if you have any. Pack a small bag, but don't bring work or laptops with you. Your task is to completely disconnect from the outside world. Order dinner to your room. Open a bottle of wine. Act not like a couple who has escaped from domestic life, but like lovers spending their first night together. The biggest mistake is to bring your domestic problems with you. If you get to a gorgeous room and start discussing why your son got a bad grade in math, you've wasted your money. Set a rule. For these 24 hours, we do not talk about problems, kids, work, or money. We only talk about us, our dreams, our feelings. We are here to rediscover each other. The expected effect. This is a powerful reset. One night like this can provide a charge of energy for months to come. You return home refreshed and with a new perspective on each other. You remember that you are not just a functional unit of society, but two people who chose to be together to enjoy life and each other. This helps to re-evaluate priorities and understand that the time invested in your relationship is the most important investment. Part 5. The verbal art of seduction. We've changed the visuals, changed the roles, changed the space. Now it's time to change how you talk to each other about passion. Words are a powerful tool, capable of igniting the imagination or, conversely, killing any desire. Most couples in long-term relationships either don't talk about intimacy at all or use a very limited and technical language. We're going to fix that. Method number 9. Digital flirting. Stretching foreplay throughout the day. The essence of this method is to use messaging apps not to discuss a shopping list, but to build sexual tension throughout the workday. It's the modern version of love letters, only faster and more accessible. Why it works. Anticipation is often sweeter than the event itself. When you send each other suggestive messages throughout the day, you activate the brain's anticipation mechanism. Each new message is a small hit of dopamine. You are not physically together, but you are constantly present in each other's thoughts. This creates a continuous erotic thread that connects you, despite distance and routine tasks. By evening, the level of anticipation reaches its peak, and your reunion becomes a long-awaited event, not just another item on the schedule. How to do it right. Start gradually. You don't need to send something overly explicit first thing in the morning. It might be inappropriate. Start with a hint. For example, a message like, "Thinking about last night," smiling. It's safe but intriguing. In the middle of the day, you can raise the stakes. "Can't wait for tonight. I have special plans for you." Towards the end of the workday, you can be even bolder. Use descriptions. Talk about your feelings and desires. The key is that it should be a dialogue. React to your partner's messages. Keep the game going. The biggest mistake is to be pushy or to not be mindful of the context. If you know she has an important meeting, you shouldn't bombard her with messages at that moment. The game should be enjoyable, not distracting. The second mistake is to use cliché and vulgar phrases from the internet. Use your own words. It might be a little clumsy, but it will be sincere. Sincerity is always sexier than rehearsed lines. The expected effect. You bring back the element of flirtation and play that you had at the very beginning of your relationship. The workday is no longer a time when you are disconnected from each other. On the contrary, it becomes part of your love play. This is incredibly refreshing for a relationship and proves that passion can live not only in the bedroom, but also on your phone, in the middle of the most boring meeting. Method number 10. Voicing fantasies, synchronizing desires. This is the final and perhaps the most intimate method. It's about not being silent during physical intimacy, but talking, whispering to each other what you're feeling in the moment and what you're dreaming of. It's verbal sex that happens in parallel with physical sex. Why it works. Hearing is one of the most underrated erogenous zones. When you hear explicit words from your partner, it activates the imagination centers in the brain. You don't just feel. You start to see the images your partner is describing. This takes intimacy to a whole new level. It's no longer just the joining of bodies. It's the joining of minds. Furthermore, when you voice your sensations aloud, you intensify them for yourself as well. This helps you focus better on the moment and get more pleasure. How to do it right? Again, the key is to be gradual. You don't need to turn it into a detailed report. Start with simple things. Whisper, "I love it so much when you," or "I've been dreaming about this all day." You can ask questions. Does that feel good? This is not only arousing, but also gives you valuable feedback. You can go further and start describing your fantasies related to the current moment. I'm imagining us. The biggest mistake is shyness and the fear of sounding foolish. Believe me, in that moment, your partner will not be judging your literary talents. Any sincere word whispered in their ear will be received as a revelation. It's important to create an atmosphere where both of you feel safe enough to be open. Don't force yourself or your partner if one of you isn't ready. Start with 1 or 2 compliments and see how it goes. The expected effect. You achieve the maximum level of intimacy where your bodies, emotions, and thoughts are completely synchronized. You learn to speak the language of passion, and this skill stays with you forever. Your intimate life becomes a living, creative dialogue, not a silent process. You don't just make love, you co-create a unique experience that cannot be replicated with anyone else. Conclusion. Your ultimate aphrodisiac gone through 10 tools. 10 ways to crack the code of routine and reset your relationship. But if you think it's all about specific techniques, you're mistaken. All these methods are just keys to a single door. The door that leads to your main erogenous zone. And it's not a body part. It's your imagination. Passion doesn't die when feelings fade, but when novelty and play disappear. When you stop surprising and being surprised. When you decide you know everything about your partner. This is the biggest lie that millions of couples believe. You will never fully know each other because people change. And that's a beautiful thing. And the great minds, like Freud and Jung, although they argued about many things, agreed on one. A healthy, fulfilling life is impossible without accepting and integrating all parts of one's personality. This includes our animal, instinctual nature, our libido, our shadow. And a healthy, long-term relationship is not a cage that suppresses these parts. On the contrary, it's the safest laboratory in the world for exploring them. A place where you can be anything, and you will be accepted. Your task is not to try to bring back what you had in the first year. Your task is to create something new, something deeper, more conscious, and more passionate. Passion is not something that happens to you. It's something you create with your own hands, your imagination, your courage. It's a skill that can and should be practiced. And now for the main question for you. I've given you 10 tools, but I know that the wisdom of this community is boundless. Write your own 11th method in the comments. What personally helped? You shake up your relationship once? Let's build the world's largest collection of ideas for a relationship reset right here. Your experience can help other couples. Your simple comment could be the start of a new, happy chapter in someone's life.